We understand what the needs are of the interpreter and of the organization. We've defined what our expectations are, what our process and procedure are for all things. Now it's important to meet the needs, and going through the selection of services for the organization, looking at how they can meet those needs, and then kind of goes back to the customization. So you look at your service delivery options, you want increased efficiencies, equality in customer service, and it's easy to use. And so there's three options always. There's our internal staff, there's the external vendors, and then there's a combination. And kind of going back to defining those needs, looking at where's your volume, what are your criteria, what are your options, really looking at where it's going to work best and how it's going to be is what this type of process will do for an organization. External vendors, I think it's very important for transparency. I think sharing what you do, how you do it, being open and honest with your customers is extremely important. And as a customer, you should be able to validate all of the things that they say. So it's one thing to say things, but then how do you show it? How do you deliver that? And it also should be consistency. I feel it's very important that if you deliver a service, it's the same for all people. So person, language, anything, there should be a consistency in the delivery because that increases the customer's experience. And it also brings back those efficiencies and things like that that keep the process moving. In-house interpreters, it's really looking, we talked, for those of us that were in the last session, we talked a little bit about this, but language screening is critical. We all know that. And we can't just depend on what somebody says, and it's important to be in depth with it. We do vocabulary, we do short segments, we do long segments, we do role play, there's site translations, there's a whole parameter of different things that you can test for, and it should be lengthy because we want, it's a lot of time invested and money invested to train and deliver services through interpreters. So let's make sure we're investing our time and resources on something that will most likely be successful, but without proper language screening, that's going to be hard. There's tools out there, there's people, a lot of people develop it internally, but it's very necessary. The soft skills screening, it goes back to what I had mentioned earlier about the benchmark, in that it is important to look at somebody's soft skills. How did they show up for the interview? The gentleman earlier said they interviewed somebody with a baseball cap on backwards, a tank top, shorts, tattoos all exposed. I have one myself, but it's discreet. But really, what is their professional mindset? How well would that person fit within your organization? It may be fine. It may be that what you do, that would be perfect. But did they really research where they were going? Did they really research who they were going to be working for, what some of the expectations might be? So soft skills screening, you're in healthcare. There's certain things you have to like people. It's going to be really hard to be a healthcare interpreter and not like people. So those are all the kinds of soft skill things that should also, what I feel, be considered. And then looking at professional development. Once you've gone through the screenings, once you've done these things, professional development is so important because you get in a routine and you do the same thing over and over again, but you get better. And really, as an organization, I feel it's my responsibility to develop my staff. It's my responsibility to make sure that they get better and better and better and better. So if you're working with just in-house interpreters, because that's what fits best for the organization, then the language screening, the soft skills, and the professional development are key components to consider.